Here's an interesting find that I found. It's not the most interesting article in the world, but it has an interesting thing they put in there that I don't understand. And it seems odd that it's in there. I'll talk about it when we get to it, but what we're looking at here is the little sandy desert region of Australia's western desert. And they're saying now that humans braved their hostile desert interior thousands of years earlier than thought. Current thought is that there's some around 40 to 50,000 years that the Denisovans, the Australian Aborigines, that aren't Negroids actually, they're an offshoot of Denisovans that were on the island and then stayed. From about that time, it's entirely possible that they've stayed in connection with that island the entire time, and only about 40,000 years. So let's look at what they say here, though. Humans trekked into Australia's vast, harsh western desert almost 50,000 years ago, 10,000 years earlier than thought, and just a few thousand years after people's first arrival on the continent. A new study says. Yeah, they show they only had settlements in that one side. Anyhow, the research offers the earliest evidence of Aboriginal occupation in the region and underscores how quickly the colonizers adapted as they spread into the continent's arid interior. Now, humans came into Australia about 65,000 years ago, although radiocarbon dating can't verify this. As we get closer to 50,000 years, it just goes to crap. When you see something that's 2,000 years old, that'll give you a plus or minus of 250 years. When you see something 20,000 years old, they give you 1,000, 1,500 years worth of float at least on it. When you get up close to 50,000 years, it can be 10,000 years off. Of course, you can correlate over and over and over again and try to get the idea, but humans came to Australia about 65,000 years ago. Artifacts and remains of ancient campfires suggest that after moving on the tropical northern shore, the first Australians reached the west coast in southern Australia 49 to 50,000 years ago. But little was known about when they reached Western Australia's interior, a region of hot red sands, flats, and dunes punctuated by a jumble of quartz and sandstone mountains. The new study helps answer that question, and of course, it could have been less arid during that time. All of Africa seemed to have been. There could have been more rainfall there, somewhat, but it still would have been mesquite bush thicket area. The new study helps to answer that question, though. A team led by archaeologists Peter Veth and Joe McDonald of the University of Western Australia in Perth investigated a site known as Carnatukel, which lies within a subregion of the western desert called the Little Sandy Desert. Now, the ancient rock shelter weathered into sandstone cliff has yielded thousands of objects, stone tools, and other artifacts. I did a video not too long where it shows you the rock art that's there in one of the pictures and stuff. It's showing cave art and rock art. Stone tools and other artifacts, as well as charcoal and more recent rock paintings of snakes, turtles, and human figures that suggest the area remained a popular stop for native Australians for tens of thousands of years. That whenever they went walkabout, maybe they went walkabout all the way out to here. When Veth, McDonald, and colleagues began to excavate the shelter floor, they discovered a small crescent-shaped stone tool beneath the rocks that had fallen from the roof as it was weathered over time. The tool was probably used for the processing wood or as part of a spear. Radiocarbon dating the sediment layers around the tool revealed that it was about 43,000 years old, which is 10,000 years older than similar tools found elsewhere on the continent. Now, here's the discrepancy. The team also found an iron scraper, likely used to clean meat off hides, dated to about 47,000 years ago. Yeah, it took me a while to get past this point in the article, too. The team also found an iron scraper, likely used to clean meat off hides, dated to about 47,000 years ago. And I think this is going to redate the Iron Age by a few years. I'm not sure what that's supposed to say there, but just a mind blower. He goes on, but people could have arrived in the site even earlier, McDonald says. 50,000 years is the limit for radiocarbon dating, so We really are at the edge of the barrier of what's possible with this site, and it could be even older. Together, the findings indicate that people had reached this part of Australia at least 47,000 years ago, dating it off of the iron scraper, and likely before that. McDonald and colleagues report this month in PLS1. I'd like to see this iron scraper. Rachel Wood, a radiocarbon dating expert at the Australian National University in Canberra, who was not involved in the study, says she agrees the site is at least 40,000 years old, but she draws the line there. It's difficult to put an exact timestamp on artifacts based on the charcoal found in the same spot, she explains. Because charcoal may not have been made by people, it's hard to say whether the charcoal and stone tools were deposited at the same time, and the tools may have moved around over time. Indeed, I've seen and it says from one sediment layer to another. Now, indeed, I've seen where they actually have tried to dismiss ancient archaic campsites as being maybe a tree caught on fire from lightning, things like that. So, and of course, you've got to figure that idea in. You have to, and they know what they're doing, but yet a lot of times, if it doesn't fit their paradigm, they toss it. I don't know why they didn't toss the 47,000-year-old iron scraping implement. But the results confirm I bet that thing disappears really damn quick. The results confirm the adaptability, innovativeness, and dynamism of the early Aboriginal settlers in exploring and colonizing some of the toughest to live places on Earth within a very short space of time, wrote archaeologist Chris Clarkson of the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia, who was not involved with the study, in an email from the field. The team is still analyzing bits of ancient DNA and other material found around the site, which researchers will hope will offer some insights on how the people eked out a living in this arid interior. So, yeah, kind of neat. They're saying, oh, well, it might go back a little farther than that. And actually, the people going into the center of the continent seems like it happened a lot earlier than we thought before. Yay! The problem that I'm having is that they're telling you that the team found an iron scraper likely used to clean meat off hides, dated to about 47,000 years ago. Is that a typo? No, it's in there. They talk about it, and they talk about where they dated the site off of it right below it. Very strange here, guys. I'll look into this more and stuff. Maybe somebody knows something about this, but wow, the Iron Age, huh? Peace.